Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. I'm Jim Williams, and are you ready for some baseball? That's right, baseball. Tonight, Fox is going to do a rare um, week in the season, anyway. Weeknight game. It's going to be game one of a very important, four-game series at Camden Yards starting tonight between the Tampa Bay Rays, who are right now, presently, 2.5 games behind the Baltimore Orioles. And this series, all four games, will be on television. Tonight, it'll be on Fox. It's a 7 o'clock start for there. Tomorrow night, it's part of the Apple TV package. So it'll be on Apple TV tomorrow night. And then on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon, it moves to the MLB network. Okay. So if you're a baseball fan and you love the drama of the race for the pennant, which these two teams, the Rays and the Orioles have surprised everybody. Look at it's kind of like the divisions have been flipped a bit. Now we all know Tampa Bay's been good year in and year out, but the fact that the pennant races between in the AL East between the Rays and the Orioles and the Jays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees are trailing them is a bit ironic. But hey, sometimes irony is a good thing. In this case, it is if you're a Rays fan or an Orioles fan. So the Orioles are 2.5 games up on the Rays. They will be spending the weekend in Baltimore at the beautiful Camden Yards playing meaningful baseball in Baltimore, which has not been played in quite a while. So let's just see how that works out. Tonight, nationally on Fox. Tomorrow, nationally streaming on Apple TV. And then, of course, we get them on MLB Network on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. Okay. So I know you're probably thinking, well, geez, it's Thursday. It's got to be football, right? Well, yeah, you're right. Amazon is all set tonight because they have what could be an interesting game. It is the Vikings at the Eagles. Now, Minnesota's 0-1, and the Eagles are 1-0. And it's the opening night for year two of Amazon's Thursday Night Football. And a couple of things that we need to know here about this. This is year two of an 11-year contract. The league was very pleased, as was Amazon and Prime Video, in the results from last year. Now, it was down ratings-wise a bit from what people expected. I don't know why they expected this. I mean, it had been for years on, Thursday night football was originally started, and they had CBS had it for a little while, and then it aired on Fox for a while, and it was simulcast, on Prime. But Prime got the exclusive last year, and people, said, "Well, gosh, look at the numbers that went down from the broadcast." I mean, look, they lost a bit of their audience in the Nielsen ratings. Now, depending on whose ratings you believe, we'll take the ones from Amazon, which was 11.7 million people average watch the package. They won every Thursday night had they been linear. Okay, so think about this for just a moment. You go from free broadcast, which is what they had on Fox, to a pay streaming service. Okay, there's got to be a learning curve, number one. Number two, the fact that they could get 11 million viewers on a consistent basis over the season is stunning. I mean, come on, that is pretty amazing. Now, there were some gems and nuggets in those reports, and I think that they're worth chatting about for just a second. One is, for the first time in the history of television of the National Football League, no matter what you were watching it on, whether it was linear TV like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, or if it was cable like ESPN or the NFL Network, they always averaged their audience, averaged over 50. This was the first time in the history of that broadcasting situation where the audience average was 47. So those people who stream the games on, on Prime, the audience average was 47. Here's another important nugget. 18 to 34, which is usually just a bump, right? It's, they get a bump here, a bump there. It was up 18%. Never again. And I'm sorry, never before, I should say. Never before has it been that high. They've never had a double digit bounce, let alone an 18% bounce. Okay. So those are 2 points that need to be brought up because in the first year of this, there's 10 years left on it, of this deal, the streaming aspect of Thursday Night Football with Prime and how they've done it it can't be underplayed. Okay. You're getting an audience that's younger. You're cultivating with the 18 to 34 an audience that is, more in tune with streaming. And then you add a third thing that we didn't mention yet. That third thing is that the average viewer watched 20 minutes more of each stream than watched traditional broadcasts. So what that meant was they were either watching more of the pregame show or more of the postgame show than they would have on traditional television. Now, that's good news not only for the league, but it's good news for advertisers who are involved with Amazon. Okay. So it's been a net positive. And going into season 2 with tonight's opening game, there's going to be even more investment from Prime Video and Amazon, as well as the league in this streaming concept. Okay. What they've done, and many of you already know it, is that they have carved out a Black Friday game. All right. Now, as we all know, on Thanksgiving, the Thursday night game is on NBC, just like the Thursday night game, which opens the season, is on NBC. Well, rather than take a game away from Amazon, what the league did is they created a Black Friday game. This year it's going to be the Dolphins and the Jets. I know a lot of people, we all would have liked to seen um, Aaron Rodgers at the helm of the Jets, but unfortunately he was injured. But again, still that's likely to be a very good game. I mean, the Dolphins certainly um, are a challenge to the Bills in that division and could very well be, a playoff and Super Bowl contending team. And they're a very entertaining team if we if they play anywhere like they did against the Chargers the other day in the opener. They've got one of the fastest and most entertaining teams in all the NFL. So the Dolphins and the Jets game, which would be on a Friday night, is also going to be free. So it's not behind the paywall. Anybody who wants to can stream it. So I really think that what's going on here is some interesting stuff, and we're also looking, and we will keep you updated on this. And that is Amazon's trying some things on their broadcasts, which some heavy duty, cutting edge stuff, which we'll be seeing. I don't know if we'll see it this year, but we certainly will see it in years to come with graphics and with other kinds of things that will keep you updated on any number of things, everything from fantasy to what in-game gambling aspects are going in what direction. Where's the money moving in that regard. So there's a lot of different issues that and fun things that are down the road and not far down the road as we move on with Thursday Night Football. So Thursday Night Football gets underway tonight on Prime. 7:00 is your pregame show. 8:00 is the game. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit on the call. All right. So the boys are back, and Freddie Gardelli. We wish you, Freddie, a friend of the show. No, Freddie and Al and the gang will be equal to the task as they start year 2 of Amazon's Prime Thursday Night Football. Okay, so Vikings Eagles, and that game will be played up at the Link, about 90 miles or so north of where we are right now. So on the East Coast. So we've talked about baseball on Fox. One other note, and I think it's important to note, is that those of you who are streaming on Max, right, have wondered for a while where, what happens to the Turner Sports content. Well, starting with baseball and the playoffs, they will begin. The Warner Discovery will begin to to play those games and stream those games on Max. So you'll be able to watch the baseball playoffs on Max. You'll be able to then watch the NBA and the NHL on Max because those two will be matriculated over as well. Okay, so baseball, when the playoffs come, those of you who are subscribers of Max, you'll be happy to know that coming to Max soon will be the playoffs in October. So that's something to look forward to. By the way, happy 30th year to Fox Sports and their NFL experiment, which changed the way people watch the game, frankly, because when very few people took Fox at the beginning seriously. When they bought the NFL rights, that changed the game entirely from a standpoint of affiliations and relationships with Fox. What happened on the day they signed the contract in Detroit, CBS's affiliate went from Channel 2 to Channel 62. Fox became a dominant local presence in a number of cities, all because of Fox's involvement with the National Football League. And of the many young announcers they signed to do football and baseball at that time, it was Joe Buck, it was Chip Carey, it was of course Kevin Harlan, and our buddies, with Kenny Albert and Tommy Brenneman. All those guys, with the exception of Harlan, who was 35 at the time, were in their 20s, mid to late 20s. And the only guy left out of that group is our pal Kenny Albert. So congratulations to Kenny for staying with Fox for 30 years, and congratulations to David Hill and what he and Ed Goren were able to put together with Fox, and of course with the help of senior production coordinator Billy Brown, who really was a bit of a mastermind there. He was the first one. We now see scoring bugs, right? We see it up there. You can just look up in the corner and watch the score, or down below and watch the score. There had not been scoring bugs prior to Billy, and that was a Billy Brown original. That was a Fox original. So there you go. And we will see, as I said before, a happy 30th in a row for the NFL on Fox. Happy 30th to Kenny for still being with them. A lot of guys in that group moved on. Joe Buck, of course, obviously is doing well. He's the voice of Monday Night Football. Speaking of which, Monday Night Football's ratings, which came out this morning, had the Jets game with the Buffalo Bills as the highest rated NFL football game ever seen on Monday night on ESPN. Okay. And they got that, we were going all the way back to 2004 when ESPN took over that contract from ABC. So since 2004, that was the Jets game with Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, being injured in the 4 plays in. Really had that kind of drew that kind of vibe and got that kind of ratings, and it was over 22 million people watching that football game at one point in time on ABC, ESPN. So pretty amazing numbers, no question about it. So let's just say kudos to ESPN and to ABC. Uh, Also, kudos on that particular game. One quick shout out to Joe Buck. Joe Joe is one guy who, like Jimmy Nance and some of the other broadcasters, are very good at building drama with your voice and how you know inflect and all that is an important part of sports broadcasting. And someone as someone whose career has been producing and directing live sports, when to move it up, when to keep it down and keep it keep it monotone or level so that you don't too excited to get the fans out of the way. But his call of the final play, the return for the touchdown on f- on Monday night was pitch perfect. It was well done. It was not over the top, and it was measured. He obviously looked, and one of the lines he said, "No flags on the field." He was watching for that too. Um, Truly professional. Truly, you know, captured the essence of the moment. So it was well done, Jack. Joe, who's his father, Jack, was himself a tremendous broadcaster, and keeping it in the family, the tradition of doing things brilliantly. Good on Joe. He did a good job on that one. So there you go from that standpoint. Now, some more numbers that were of interest. Um, and it shouldn't be a surprise, but in some people, when I mentioned it this morning, were surprised, and that is Coco Gauff's U.S. Open victory on Saturday drew a record viewership for women's major tennis final, with over 1 million more viewers than the men's final. Okay, so it shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody. Um, I should think not, because number one, throughout the tournament, she was clearly one of the best stories at Flushing Meadow at the tennis center. 19 years old, very incredibly well spoken, very poised young woman, and very talented, obviously. So she came through and beat Azarenka to win the title. Absolutely brilliant, and obviously, you know, uh, the audience was compelling. It was a compelling situation. Djokovic on Sunday, it doesn't surprise me that, for instance, that ESPN got higher ratings with Coco. Again, she was a story, and here's the other thing too. You attract casual fans when you have a personality. Okay, and her personality became infectious during the course of that entire tournament. There are going to be people who won't watch a single, you know, frame of a tournament of a tennis tournament any other time but either the majors, usually the Open in New York or Wimbledon. Those are the two that garner the biggest ratings. So it doesn't surprise me, and I'm very pleased to see it, that that Coco had a good rating and that ESPN's did a good job making sure that that was the case. Now, here's another one that just came across the desk this morning, and that is that the WNBA's regular season drew its best viewership on ESPN in 17 years, up 18% from 2022. Again, that I think was um, something that it shouldn't surprise anyone. And here's why: the numbers that we saw during March Madness for the women, those were all-time high numbers. The numbers we saw for softball and the women's softball championships, the World Series. Again, bonkers, big numbers. So the fact that we are connecting in this way, where women's sports is now generating good ratings, shouldn't really be a surprise. I mean, It's compelling television. It's good, solid content, and the storylines are good. That basically is the essence of what you want when you're airing a broadcast. Pardon me for a moment. Um, my buddy Spencer McLaughlin from Locked On Pac-12 says he needs a second segment and sip. Well, we don't have segments here, so I'm going to take a second segment sip right at the moment. Thank you very much for indulging me. So yes, the women's deal is quite important, and what we're seeing right now is an insert. It's really kind of a birth, if you will. Now, women's tennis has always done well on television. There's no question about that. All the way going back to Billie Jean King, Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova, and there really isn't a compelling men's situation just yet. I mean, Djokovic continues to win, and right now, you know, he seems to be a bit of a juggernaut when it comes to you know, the majors. So Coco getting that win, and more people watching it again. As I say, it doesn't surprise me, but I think it's a good thing, and I hope that it's a trend that continues. All righty, time for some questions we got from the mailbag. All right, let me just look over here. Okay, uh, is this going to be a big rivalry? I'm sorry. This is from Jeff, and Jeff asks, excuse me, why is this such a big rivalry weekend in college football? Well, Jeff, first of all, thanks for the question. Second of all, you've got Pitt taking on West Virginia in the backyard brawl. Okay, now if you remember last year, Pitt, in West Virginia, kind of rekindled this. It's really, to me, one of the top 5 rivalries in all of college, and it's a fun rivalry, and it was very entertaining last year, incredibly entertaining. It was, I think, the first week end of college football, if memory serves, and it drew 4 million people on ABC and ESPN, and so that game was played in Pittsburgh. This year's played in West Virginia, and I have every reason to believe that that game is going to do well. It's a primetime game Saturday night. Fowler and Herb Street will be on that call. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the backyard brawl is a very good one. Florida is playing Tennessee. Again, normally Florida and Tennessee, which Florida Tennessee is a rivalry, but it's it's not the Florida Georgia rivalry or the Florida State rivalry. It's this kind of a rivalry that got ginned up from a couple of coach situations. Um, and as someone who's followed the Gators for many years, I can tell you that it's a it's not really a rivalry. It's just those two teams don't like each other, and I think that might be. And they're in the East, just like face each other every year, and so rivalry. We'll give you that, but that's also it's a prime game, a prime time game, SEC network. So yeah, I think it'll be entertaining, and of course we also have on this week we have the situation where you've got Colorado State playing each other. Again, I'm not sure how much Colorado is going to call that a rivalry, but it is what it is. So I think a lot of it is because once you get into the conference play, you really aren't going to play, that. And some rivalry games get played at the end of the year, like Navy and Army, and but Oklahoma and Texas play each other in the middle of the season, and they're big, Big 12 rivals, and so it does happen. Beginning of the year, you get some rivalry games. But I wouldn't say this is the biggest rivalry week. It's just it is. We're lucky enough to get some rivalry games, and that really, it's not a great slate of games all the way down from top to bottom like we've had in a couple the last couple of weeks we had some good ones. This one is we got a couple of good ones, but not a lot. Okay, not a lot to be looking forward to on that situation. But that's a good question. Uh, okay. Let me see. You got time for a couple more. Billy, what do you got for me? Um, how will the NFL deal with the Jets now that Aaron Rodgers is not playing? They were scheduled for 6 games. Well, Jeff, they'll still be scheduled for 6 games. Um, the schedule is set. I can't see the Jets being bounced out of those time slots. They do have a Sunday night game, so theoretically they could be flexed out. The Thursday game, which well, actually, it's the Friday game, the Black Friday game, which I referenced earlier. This is the first year that the NFL has the ability to flex Thursday. I don't think that's going to happen. I I just don't think that they're going to flex. I don't think they want to. I think that was something they were giving out to it was a concession that they were giving to Amazon, but I don't think that they're going to actually exercise that. Now, again, the Sunday night game, which comes later in the year, um, if it is not compelling, and there are other compelling games that would warrant taking that slot, well, then yeah, maybe. But at least 5 of those prime games that the league thought Aaron Rodgers is going to play in, they're definitely going to still be there. So don't look for the NFL to change the schedule too much in that regard. Once it's in there, it's in there. They can't really do much with it. Okay. All right, Tommy, what you got for me? Tommy's wondering, the NBA season and the NHL season are coming up soon. What's the deal with the regional sports networks? Well, the deal with the regional sports networks is that we know the Utah Jazz. We know that the Clippers in Los Angeles. We know that the Phoenix Suns are all making plans to do what, in essence, is going back to the future, uh, which is airing games on, you know, local broadcast television, some of them, and then putting together a streaming package, which they will be able to market direct to consumers. So uh, we'll give you far more information as that comes on, and frankly, to find out, how some of the others are going to be handled, because there's also situations in Pittsburgh, there's situations in Cleveland, there's situations in Houston that are not quite settled yet, and we'll get to those when it comes. The Rockies, obviously, in Colorado, that whole situation's got to be put together as well. We do know that the Rockies will be the next team after, once the season is over. They're going to shutter AT&T Sports Rocky Mountain, so that will mean that the Rockies will need a place to play. And Major League Baseball, as well as the NBA and the NHL, have said, they're going to step up and take over the broadcast. Well, obviously, there's no need for that at the moment, because the Rockies are going to finish out the season. But once the season is over, where Rockies broadcast will be going forward. Yesterday, there was some talk that perhaps Major League Baseball would do a deal with Stan Kroenke's Altitude Group, which you know is the dominant sports regional network in the Rocky Mountain states, and in Denver, Colorado. So it's quite possible that they would end up on Altitude. It's quite possible that Major League Baseball would want to keep them separate and let that fly. So we don't know what's going on with the Rockies. We know, obviously, if you're a San Diego Padres fan, or if you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan, you've seen that Major League Baseball kind of did, when the teams weren't paid by Diamond, who's in bankruptcy at this moment, that they seamlessly put them back on the air and nobody missed anything. So, with some time to put something together, I think that's going to handle that. As far as the Pens are concerned, the Pens are owned by the Fenway Group, which of course is, that owns Nesson in New England Sports Network, which is a very successful one. And they've already said that they will basically take on the Pens, and so there will be a Nesson Pittsburgh. So there is a potential, I would think, John Henry and Tommy Warner to discuss with the Pirates that maybe the best course forward would be if they join the Pens on Nesson. So we'll keep you posted on that as well. Okay. All right, gang. Look, plenty of stuff to talk about tomorrow. We'll get ready. As we always do on Friday, for a big college and NFL weekend. We got plenty of baseball, and certainly as the pennant races heat up, and NASCAR starts to wind down as they get into the real meat of the chase. So, all right. So tomorrow, plenty of stuff. Let's recap real quick what we got for today. And that is, of course, baseball tonight. Big 4-game series between the Rays and the Orioles at Camden Yard. That's a 7:00 game nationally on Fox. Okay. Vikings Eagles national streaming on Prime. Okay. 7:00 pregame, 8:00 kick. We got college football, which I almost forgot there. College football tonight on ESPN. It is Memphis hosting Navy. And that's about it for tonight. Okay. We will have more tomorrow, but that's about it. Locally, obviously, if you are a baseball fan, you can follow regionally what's going on from that standpoint. Quick note, just another thing that just came across the wire just a few minutes ago. Max Scherzer will be out. That's Max Scherzer for the Texas Rangers, will be out for the remainder of the season. He injured his arm, which he did the other day. And so, not good news for the Rangers, who were hoping that Max could help them in that pennant drive. So that's one last news bit for you all. But I really appreciate you dropping by today, guys. And as it scrolls past there, and you're reading it, it says, please subscribe, hit the bell, and like us. And we greatly would appreciate if you would do that. Okay. All right, folks, for everybody here at Stream On, I'm Jim Williams saying good afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow. And by all means, have a lovely day. Take care.